Hi, I'm Dana. I'm too hot and not in the mood for this, but it needs to be done. So if you're not new, I'm really sorry that you hear this every time, but if you are new, this is a little series that I do that I'm calling body doubling, so that if you have stuff that you've been getting around to, like a gigantic pile of laundry, like this is from the floor to here, if you've got stuff like that that you need to get done and you've been struggling with it a bit, you can do it with me. You can just stick this on in the background and I'll chatter away and keep you hopefully vaguely entertained, and you get to do the shit that you need to get around to, because it's hard to get around to the shit that you need to get around to. Or at least it is for me. So it's one of those things where realistically I could just go and find a video of someone else doing this, but I don't. I make it myself instead, because self-obsessed much, huh? I don't know, it fills me with a satisfaction knowing that I've done a video as well as the thing I actually needed to do. It fills me with like just an extreme sense of productivity that I don't get from doing one thing at once. So that's my side of things. If you don't do anything and you do just watch/listen to this, thank you. Wow, you're dedicated. It's not like it's, realistically it's probably actually more interesting to watch now of my normal videos because I'm actually doing something, not just staring at the camera. But yeah, I'm just going to chatter away about my life and some thoughts and just random shit now, so settle into whatever you're getting up to, I guess. Do your dishes, throw away the food in your fridge that's gone off, cook your dinner, put your clothes away with me, tidy your room, I don't know, whatever you need to do, we can do it. If I can do this, you can do the thing you need to do, is my thought. Also, I bought this vintage Nirvana t-shirt like probably close to 10 years ago now, and it is falling apart, but it's from the 90s, man, I can't get rid of it. But I should actually probably do something to try and preserve it a little bit if I'm gonna keep it. If I'm gonna continue being like, it's a part of history, dude. Like, you can just straight up see all the way through the shirt here, like. So yeah, today is Sunday. I'm filming this the same day that you're going to see it because I'm really on top of things. I'm really doing well, obviously. My morning so far, I went to church again. If you've watched some of my videos in the past, you might have already heard me talk about this a little bit. And don't worry, I'm not gonna like try and convince you to start going to church if you haven't heard me talk about this and don't know. But yeah, like definitely over a month ago now, I went to my local Unitarian church for the first time. I'd seen like the signs outside of it. It's on like the route that I go to walk to the park and like have my nice little moments for myself. And every time I went past, I was like, that's gonna be a little curious. Like, I just kind of want to know what it's about. And like, I've never been someone who's like felt like a part of a religion. I went to a Catholic school, but I just felt consistently confused, and I never had like any idea what was going on when we were doing religious stuff, you know? Like, we did like communion sometimes, and I just sat it out because I didn't know what the fuck I was meant to do. We did like the Ash Tuesday thing on our heads, and again, I just like there's like an expectation in Catholicism or whatever that you've been there the whole time and you've always done it and you know exactly what you're doing and everything just like goes as is. And I hadn't always been there, I didn't know what I was meant to do, and it was very stressful and confusing for me, along with just generally not agreeing with a whole bunch of it and not really liking a whole lot about it. And it's one of those things where I was raised with like very anti-religious parents. Like, although they did get really into like not Western, fucking like new age sort of stuff, I guess, and they had like a dabble in Buddhism as well, but beyond that they saw like Western religions like, if you're religious you're an idiot, and I very much grew up with that sort of mindset and thought about a lot of religious people, and it's something that I really like shifted and don't feel anymore, because I think it's the kind of thing that comes a lot from like seeing religious people on the news and seeing like the Westboro Baptist Church and really sort of seeing like the worst that each religion has to offer, when obviously the majority of most religious people are just practicing for themselves and keeping faith for themselves and see it as like a, you know, like a moral compass and a way to keep you on the straight and narrow and stuff. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think you should necessarily like need a god in order to try and be a good person, but if you having a god helps you to like be a good person and feel like you're doing the right thing, then I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's stupid, you know? But yeah, all of that is just because I need to ramble for these videos essentially, and it's very much led me to like not ever really consider being a part of any religion, and not really, you know, like, I know that people do get into religion later in life and stuff, but I also feel like belief in God is something that like most people are raised with. Like, I feel like it would be a real big fucking turnaround for me at this age in my life to suddenly be like, oh no, actually I do believe that God exists, you know. That would just be like a real crazy thing coming from me. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like most people have questions of like, why are we here, what is the point of all this, what is the universe, how did it get here, all that kind of stuff. And I really like having a setting like a church where I can go and sort of explore that and not have the pressure to come to the same conclusion as the other people there, you know. Like, we can all have our completely unique beliefs and ideas and whatever else, and still come together and be a community and respect each other's beliefs and everything. I really like that, you know. Like, and especially having like reflected on my parents' view of things, and you know, that was my view for a long time, because you get a lot of what you know from your parents as a kid. And I think it's one of those things that is like quite hypocritical and kind of the reverse of what we're thinking. You know, I think it's much more stupid to completely remove someone's, like, you know, to just assume that someone's an idiot and that they don't know anything about anything because they have one belief that is very personal and is very, like, you know, I don't think religious beliefs are something that are to be judged, like something that we should judge people for. And I think it is much, much stupider to assume that of people and to be like, no, this person holds no worth because they believe in God. I think that's much more stupid than it is to believe in God, you know? I think it's much more stupid and horrible and just not nice to not respect people's beliefs and things like that. So I am actually really, really enjoying having like a church setting that is so open and welcoming and just lovely. Like, the last time I went was like the congregation lunch, which like the priest had cooked a little soup that was vegan, and I made some bread rolls and some cookies and stuff. And next week's the next one, so I'm gonna make some biscuits and like just make it nice again, because I really enjoyed it actually. Like, I talked about that a bunch in a different video. But after each sermon, after you've sat in the church for an hour and listened to the priest talk and sang some hymns and stuff, when it's like done, they go for like coffee and tea and stuff in like the little like back part of the church. And I hadn't done that yet because it just seemed a bit social, honestly, let's face it. You know, it's very easy to go and like sit in a pew and sing some hymns and then leave again. Actually going and speaking to people afterwards is quite a big thing for me, so I've been very, very nervous of it. And today I just happened to sit behind the right person, and she was like, oh, come have some tea with us, I've been coming here for ages, I haven't seen you before, like, you know, and just started the conversation. And that makes life so much easier for me. You know, like, I feel like I do fairly well when someone else has started the conversation. I don't feel like I'm a terrible person to like be in conversation with. I don't feel like I make it that awkward or anything. But starting a conversation I find very, very difficult. And like, there's times that I do find it difficult to continue a conversation as well. Like, there was a point where the three of us were talking about dogs and cats for like quite a long time because none of us really knew how to like move the conversation. But I didn't feel like it was like particularly awkward or anything. It was just, that's what we were talking about for a good long minute, you know? And it was just really nice to get to like meet some other people that are there and hear about their like history and how they feel about things there and everything. Because it does feel a lot like it's people like me that have either, you know, some of them are different to me in that they've had like, you know, negative experiences within the church and have chosen to like leave more formed and organised. Obviously the church that I'm going to is organised and shit, but like obviously Catholicism and a lot of Christianity and stuff is very boxed in. Like, there's a lot of things that are just the way they are, and you're like questioning their theology and stuff if you don't believe the exact same things that they're saying. So it's really nice for those types of people, I think, to be able to come into a space that is a lot more open and accepting and just kind and just sort of person focused, I feel. And it's one of those things where I don't consider myself to have like particular religious trauma or to have left a religion, but going to a Catholic school for several years did like give me a lot of thoughts and feelings about Catholicism specifically, you know. And I also really like how many people have specifically, like, bear in mind I've only spoken to like 4 people there. It's not like I've like become a social butterfly and speaking to everyone, but of the people I have spoken to, there is very much like the communal thing of like, we're all here because we want community, and we've seen the way that churches and religions are able to breed that community. And like, you know, obviously there's always like the bad eggs and whatever, but for the most part, from what I've seen of things that aren't being like sensationalized on the news and whatever, most religious groups are actually very accepting and very nice to be a part of, and it is like a real community that you get to be a part of, where like, you know, everyone knows you. And that's the kind of thing that I've only experienced a handful of times, because back when I lived in Rhyl as a teenager, I was friends with a Canadian family that were like very, very, very religious. Like, they were homeschooling their kids in the UK, and they were doing like the workbooks that were very like, if John has 7 apples and David has 3, how many can they give to Jesus? You know, like, it, not that simplified, they weren't idiots, but you know, like, it was, all of their teachings were very religion focused. And as like, I feel like anyone that's had like a really religious like family as a friend will have had the same thing, where eventually you get invited to something and you show up and they've like sort of like hinted that it's not really that churchy, but you get there and it is super fucking churchy and it's a whole religious thing. And I remember going to one with them. I don't know if I went to any others with them, to be fair. I feel like I did, but I don't remember them like clearly. But the first one that I went to, I remember really clearly, because we walked into this like big hall that was in the back of a building somewhere, and we'd driven a good fucking while to get there as well, because they were like part of a specific, that's the thing as well, is like, I don't understand a whole bunch about religion, because I understand that like Christianity and Catholicism and there's Protestants, but then there's also like Seventh-day Evangelists, and like, I don't know what the shit all of the differences are, to be completely honest with you. But they'd taken me to this, like, it wasn't a Sunday group, like, it was a Sunday school type of thing, you know, it just wasn't on a Sunday. And we walked into this hall where people were like playing on like a fucking like table football and like throwing a ball back and forth, and with groups of kids like sat around just talking, holding Bibles and stuff. And it stopped, like, it went deadly silent when we walked in, and everyone turned and looked at us, and then everybody there one by one came and greeted the kids that I was there with, like big hugs, being like, oh my god, it's so good to see you, I've missed you, how have you been? And then came and greeted me and were like, oh my god, it's so nice that you've come here, we're so happy to see that you're here, who are you? Like, it was that type of thing where like they're trying real hard to be welcoming, and it just felt like a fucking cult or something, you know. It just really felt like unsettling and super uncanny valley. Like, nobody is actually that excited to meet a new person. You're happy that I'm like joining your weird little thing that you've got going on here, and that makes me desperately not want to. And I was quite concerned this would be like a really similar thing, you know, and that I really wouldn't like it. But I was very like, if I go and it is like that, I, number one, don't care that much anymore, and I won't be seeing these people again. If I really don't like it that much the first time, I'm leaving, you know. I will get up and walk out halfway through the service if it really ain't what I'm there for. And like, I'll be quiet about it. I'm not gonna be like, fuck yeah, as I walk out the church, you know, but I will shuffle my way out and not come back. But I just really like it. Like, the today the sermons were about Emerson. I'm gonna Google it and try and find some of his essays and stuff, because I do actually want to read it. But he was like a religious figure of some sort like 200 years ago, and then his wife died, and he like opened up her tomb to have a nose at the body to make sure she was dead, and he did a whole bunch of like journaling, and a lot of the sermon was like about his beliefs and the things that he said, because he was a very like, be yourself, either the like answers of the outside come from within kind of stuff, you know. Like, when I explain it, it feels like it's really pretentious and weird, but when it's in a sermon and it's coming from someone who actually knows the material that he's teaching and stuff, it's incredibly interesting, and it's a really nice space, like I said last time I talked about this, it's a really nice space to be able to like reflect and think about things. And it definitely encourages me to like, not necessarily change my perspective, because I think if it was encouraging me to change my perspective, I would be a bit weirded out by it and be like, what are you trying to do here? But it just sort of challenges you to think about things for yourself, and to actually like figure out what you believe and not just what you're being told to believe and stuff. And I just really enjoy it and really appreciate it, and it's the exact kind of thing I've been looking for, you know. It's the exact kind of stuff that I believe in, that I think. And being able to meet other people that are like, oh yeah, I came here and he said what I thought, I'm like, yeah, same, it's what I thought too. And it's a really nice way to just be able to meet some people I think I will be able to like really breed community with. And it's also been a bit of like an eye-opener for me, because obviously like I would like to make some friends. I have 2 friends and I adore them, they're the best friends in the whole world. but I do only have 2, and it would be nice to have a few more. To be fair, I'm currently like ignoring a message from someone asking me if I want to hang out, and I do actively want to hang out with them, but I can see in the like preview of the message that they've suggested like the 8th of June or something, so I know I have time to get back to them, so I am just leaving it for the minute. But actually I think I'm going to reply to them after this video, because I do like them and would like to be better friends. But yeah, so obviously I would like to make some friends, and I didn't initially think this was really the place to do it, because everyone there is a good bit older than me, you know, like by probably at least like 15 years, maybe more. And that's a lie. There are a fair amount of people that are probably closer to my age, but they're not in my like position of life, you know, like they're having babies and getting married and stuff, and I'm like, oh, good for you. Not for me. Never, thank you. But it's the kind of thing where I'm like, well, I'm here, and people obviously have like very similar thoughts and beliefs and morals and whatever else to me here. So I'm just gonna talk to people, you know, if someone wants to talk to me, we want to have a chat and it's nice, then go for it. Like, why block what could be something nice? So it's been predominantly like older ladies that I've been speaking to, like, I don't know how old they are, and I'm not very good at telling people's ages, but one of them mentioned today that she was born in the 50s and was in Liverpool, like, and like, perhaps not like a fully formed adult, but she saw the Beatles in Liverpool in the 60s, which sounds like really epic and cool, but like, I live in Liverpool, that's most people over a certain age here have those stories. But it's one of those things where I think for an absolute multitude of reasons, I actually really enjoy having those like friendships with older women, and I do think they're quite important, honestly, and I would like more of them. I would like to like further speak to the people that I'm meeting and see if I can like create any friendships there, because it's one of those things where like I said, I think it comes from a multitude of different places that I'm now going to get into, because the point of these videos is that I can ramble and go into that shit. So the first one is obviously like, I haven't got a mum. I had to stop talking to my mum because she was like really quite horrible to me, so in some ways it does sort of feel like I never had a mum, and it's, you know, it's bullshit because I did. She was there the whole time, but she so often just made me feel worse about myself and just wasn't, you know, a nice person, never mind a good mother. So it does in some ways feel like I just never got what other people had. And I'm not saying I'm like looking for a new mum, but I do think that one of the important parts of like having a mother is that you have an older lady to teach you stuff and to like just talk to you. Like, I feel like I learn so much from just talking to people, and especially when people then have actual like lived experience and they've lived a lot of life and stuff, you know, you can learn a lot from them. And I felt the same way about one of my ex's nans, to be fair. I absolutely adored his nan, but again, it's the type of thing where like I feel like I'm like the perfect person to have a really close relationship with my grandparents, because I love hearing people's stories, I love hearing about the past, I love getting to like learn from their wisdom. I like a lot of old people activities, to be honest with you, as well. But I only ever had one grandparent that like lived while I was alive, and she was horrible. I didn't even go to her funeral, even though I knew about it. Like my family just aren't very nice, so I feel like whereas a lot of other people get to just like have those relationships and communicate with the older generation and talk to people that are older than them and have like get the chance to like, I know it's such a cliche to impart their wisdom, but like they really do. Like a lot of old people have a lot of good, like really interesting reflective shit to say, and like really can teach you a lot, you know. And like the other side of that is that obviously these people aren't my mother or grandmother or whatever else. I feel like that makes it all the more like really interesting and quite like beneficial, to be honest, because it is a case of like a lot of like, I hear all sorts of like little secrets and stuff from the older generation, you know. I hear all sorts of things that they probably wouldn't tell their grandkids or their kids or whatever, but as like someone who isn't connected to them like that, I get to hear it and I'm interested. And I think it is also a thing of like a lot of the stuff that I like is a bit older. Like I am massively in my 90s phase at the minute because I got to meet Kevin Smith, so I've been watching just like loads of 90s movies. But then like they also mention John Hughes in Dogma, so I've been watching a bunch of John Hughes movies, and they're all like from the 80s. No, they're not. I think one was from like 91, but they're predominantly from the 80s. So I am like slowly slipping back into my 80s phase. I love the Beatles. I've loved the Beatles for a long, long time. I do actually really want to watch more movies from like the 60s and 70s because I haven't really done that. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I like is the stuff that a lot of like older generations like to reminisce over and remember and like still enjoy from like their youth and whatever, you know? And I feel like it's one of those things where like I can connect really well with people my age about like how we live and how the world is and how we grew up. And that's really important and beneficial and lovely, and I really like that, and that's what I get from the friends that I currently have. And it's lovely, you know, like, no shade. But it's really also nice having the relationships where you can bond over, like, the actual, like, item, the thing, you know? Like, that's one of the things I really miss about getting to go to gigs. Like, I haven't been to a gig in ages because my anxiety is just super fucking high, and I haven't really had the money either, to be fair. The money is a higher barrier than my anxiety, let's face it, but then I get anxious about the money too. But a lot of the gigs that I've been to are things like Alice Cooper, Alanis Morissette. Fucking, I went and saw the Quarrymen back in the day in the Casbah in Liverpool, where they, like, first played. Like, a lot of the music that I like is a lot older, so obviously, like, it's the older generation that's going to see those musicians. So I've had a whole various bunch of times in my life where I'm just sat with, like, a whole bunch of, like, 50-60-year-olds, and it's the kind of thing where, like, I have had the negative experiences of, like, old men fucking just, like, thinking they can touch me and shit. It's not always an absolute walk in the park being a young woman in those environments. But there's the other times that I think that, like, it's probably not everyone there is, like, a parent or grandparent or whatever, but they just sort of take me under their wing a little bit, and everyone's, like, an extra bit nice to me. And it's so nice, and I'm so not looking forward to looking old enough that people stop doing that. I feel like so often as well, the older generation are much more understanding of, like, my awkwardness and my anxieties and, like, the way that I am, without it having to be explained, you know? Like, they've come across so many people that are like me, and known so many people that have so many various issues with whatever in their time, that, like, I'm just another person. It really doesn't faze them, you know? They just sort of take charge and they don't give a shit, and I love that. Like, I think they definitely do get to a point where they've had so much life experience and they know that shit, like, doesn't really matter in the long run. Or maybe it's more that they know which shit is gonna matter in the long run, so the little things just don't worry them as much. Whatever it is, there's a lived experience and knowledge that, like, I really enjoy getting to, like, sort of have somewhat imparted onto me. I enjoy it a lot. So I've actually got a meeting with the priest on Wednesday because I really want to get more involved, like, not even necessarily within the church, but they do a lot of, like, community stuff, and I would like to, you know, like, have a positive impact on the area and people around me and all that kind of stuff. It's the kind of stuff that just sounds so, like, I'm a good person, I'm a nice person, you know, I just want to help people, but it's one of those things where I feel like everyone would be happier and healthier and having a better time if we did all just help each other a bit more, you know? And if you don't see it happening, you've got to be the one to do it, you know? Like, I only made this YouTube channel and started, like, oh, I had the YouTube channel for a while, I'll give, but I only started making videos because I wasn't seeing them there, and I was like, well, someone should do that, and then no one did, and I was like, I could do that, I guess. And it is the kind of thing where I think it's really important to just, like, if you think something should be done, do it. Like, I know it's hard, it's not always the easiest thing to do, you know, like, I've been thinking this way for, like, years and years and years, and I'm only just getting around to having a meeting with a priest to try and figure something out. But it's better late than never, you know? Like, some shit takes time, some shit takes, like, mental time, if nothing else. Okay, this might be... that might have been infinitely uninteresting to a lot of people, to be fair, but this is where it's about to get even more uninteresting, because I was like, shit, what else have I been up to that I can talk about in this video? And the main thing that I've been doing is I've spent hours and hours and hours every single day, like, for the last couple of days, making fucking paper puppets. Like, if you watch these, I'm guessing you probably saw the one where I tidied my room and I had, like, my weird little puppet that I've got going on here. I'm gonna remake her, I'm really not happy with that. I need to get, like, the proper puppet foam and stuff. But it's expensive. So that's a project that's being put to the side, essentially, for the minute. Because I've started a new project that's quite similar, but not entirely. Because I really thought that making my best friend meet Kevin Smith with me would mean that they would then want to watch Tusk. And they're watching all of Kevin Smith's other films with me, I'll give, but they think that Tusk will be the film that will traumatise them. And I can't guarantee that it wouldn't be, to be completely honest with you. But I was trying my best to bribe them into watching it anyway. And they said the only way you could convince me to watch this movie is if you remade it with paper puppets. So I'm now remaking Tusk with paper puppets, and I am going to be putting it on YouTube. I don't know if I want to do it in multiple parts or upload it as, like, one big movie, but I am going to remake the 2014 horror movie Tusk out of paper puppets so that my best friend can watch it. And I think it's going to be a bit jokey and a bit silly and a little bit of fun. yeah, I was gonna try and defend it, but why should it not just be those things? Sometimes things can just be fun. So far, I've made Haley Joel Osment, Justin Long, Genesis Rodriguez, and the Colleens, which are Harley Quinn Smith and Lily Rose Depp. But that's where, see, I'm gonna make Michael Parks, obviously, because he's like a main character. I don't want to have to make the epic mealtime guy. I'm gonna cut his scenes. That's the thing, is I'm like, I'm gonna remake Tusk, but like, they wanted a recreation. They wanted me to recreate Tusk with paper puppets, and I'm doing a remake and adding my own spin, and it's not actually going to be the movie by the time they watch it. Because another example of that is that I don't want to get super like controversial here, but I don't like Johnny Depp anymore, okay? I was a massive Johnny Depp stan as a teenager when I really loved Tim Burton as well. I'm not really a Tim Burton fan anymore because of some of his shit that's gone on, and I'm definitely not a Johnny Depp fan anymore. I really don't appreciate the man. I'm trying to not be a bitch about it, but I also think he's a massive dickhead, to be honest with you. So I'm not doing him. He doesn't get to be in the movie, but obviously his character's a pretty fucking big part, and I was like, shit, like, well, if Kevin Smith hadn't had Johnny Depp in it, and also people always bring up that Kevin Smith's worked with dodgy people, and okay, it was 2014, number one, none of us thought Johnny Depp was a bad guy yet, and number two, it was nepotism, because he texted Johnny Depp and was like, hey man, our daughters are friends, can you be in my movie? Like, I'm not making him sound better with that, but we didn't know that Johnny Depp sucked, and it was really cool to get to have Johnny Depp in a Kevin Smith movie at the time, so no shade on Kevin Smith. But my thought was like, well, if he wasn't going to cast Johnny Depp, like if he'd text Johnny Depp and Johnny Depp had been like, no Kev, I'm not doing that sounds ridiculous, who would he have asked next? So I'm going to make a paper doll puppet of Ben Affleck to play that character, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. How do you like them apples? That's the thing, it's going to be filled with so many random fucking references, and Tusk isn't. Like, I'm about to make Tusk a real part of the View Askew universe, and Kevin Smith's going to be like, don't. He's not going to be like, don't. He's not going to fucking acknowledge it. But that is... do I have to show you to prove it? My basket's empty. Basket's empty. I need to hang it all up. I actually did this in time because I've got someone coming to meet Ali because they might be her new home, so I need to get everything hung up and get myself mentally prepared for that. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. A lot of the videos on Sundays are like this, but the ones that I post on Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to have more of an actual message or point. They're actual videos, they're real content. So if you would like to watch any of those, stick around for any of those and the like, you can subscribe, you can like this video, you can follow me over on TikTok and Instagram where I post quite a bit of I post nearly daily over on TikTok, and I post like here and there on Instagram. And you can also follow me on Patreon and donate money to me if you want to get videos a tiny bit. You're not getting this one early, I'm sorry patrons. You're not getting this video early. I'm just about getting this out on time on YouTube, never mind Patreon. But you usually get videos like slightly early there. And if you want to donate money to me for just like no reason, just because you like my content and it would be a nice thing to do, and you have spare money just laying around that you don't care about, you can also donate it to me on Ko-fi. But there's no pressure. It should purely be the scenario of like, I have some spare money. I don't mind you having it. Don't skint yourself. Don't like be like, oh no, I need to give this person money because I like their content. It's fine. It's fine. YouTube should pay me for making content. So yeah, that's that. Whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I will see you again, along with Otis, who's suddenly here, in a couple of days.